Hello everyone, welcome to Wicked West Books. My name is Meg West, and I'm here to tell you the difference between the old version of the Bone Season and the new version of the Bone Season. This is the version that came out last year. It is the 10th anniversary edition, and Samantha Shannon went through and rewrote the book. Is it the same story at its core? Yes. Do I think that this new rewrite is worth rebuying the books? Yes. And I'm going to tell you why. I read the old Bone Season twice in years before. Then this version came out and I reread the Bone Season, but through this copy. And even though I knew I loved the Bone Season, the way it was written in this way held my attention so much more. It was a great third read through of this book. And then what did I do? I read the 2013 version. Today. One day. I wanted to go through and find out what exactly had changed. Initially, I started off by reading a library copy of the original one while listening to the audiobook version that I own of this book on top of it. That was too nitpicky. Too many things had changed. The rewrite actually rewrote the book. Some quotes stayed the same, but overall, things changed. This book was a 5-star rating for me when I read the original book initially, and this version is a 5-star read for me again. So basically the Bone Season is a kind of this world, kind of not this world thing in England where clairvoyance exists. People have a connection to the aether and they can see spirits. Is that a no? Is that a no? That is what science thinks, yes. Science says no to the clairvoyance. But they can connect to the aether, they can do things depending on what your aura color is a different thing that you can do. One of the things I thought was different was that this little breakdown of the 7 orders of clairvoyance, which has soothsayers, augurs, mediums, censors, guardians, furies, and jumpers are the seven orders of clairvoyance. I thought it wasn't in this book. It just got moved to the back and it's packed with more information. The version that was in the first one took up 1 page. This one takes up 4. Takes up 4 pages with footnotes and just more information, and this one has a list of the characters that are at Shale 1. There is an Oxford map. There is a city map. And there is new artwork. So clairvoyance is frowned upon by society. It is not something that anyone wants is for their people to be unnatural. Think along the witch trials. I wish that was an exaggeration. But one day, Paige gets captured by the government and finds out that there is a third option between living as a criminal clairvoyant, being hanged as a clairvoyant. There's a third option. And it's not a pleasant option. There is a group of beings that want to use their clairvoyance for something. That's the non-spoilery version. So what exactly actually got changed between the 2013 version and the 2023 version? I have a page and a sum of things that got changed. I didn't start taking these notes until things really started changing. The beginning, not much is different. It's just better written. Samantha Shannon took the 10 years of writing that she had been doing and the popularity of some of those later books and basically just wrote it better. And since I did start trying to read both versions at the same time, I can tell you it's much better. It's much better writing. There's much fewer slang in the new version, which is one of the big ones that I noticed right at the beginning that kind of continued through the whole thing. But like, for instance, when you first get to Shale and you meet Nashira, instead of info dumping how everything was going to go there, Paige got that information from other people, so it was less information all at one time. And because the main villain, Nashira, didn't explain it all to them, she came off a lot creepier in the 10th anniversary edition. Very much more bad guy vibe from her. The old version called the Red Jackets also Bone Grubbers, but in the rewrite, Samantha Shannon decided that calling them Red Jackets was slang enough, didn't need to be calling them anything else. When Paige gets to her residence, in the old version, the person who lets her in and out doesn't even have a name. It's a different person like every single time. And it makes more sense for it to be one person who has kind of, even if it's a small point in the plot, has a point in the plot. Hi, honey. Hi. And since it's in this particular residence, she's not quite as brainwashed into the Refame Society as much as she was in the old version of it. One of the first big differences between the 2013 and the new version is that in the old version, Warden drank Paige's blood to heal himself. That is completely missing from the rewrite. It wasn't even mentioned. I don't even know if that's going to continue being something going forward, but as far as the bigger inconsistencies between the old version and the new version, that's one of the big ones. When it comes to fighting one of the NM, or the buzzers as they are called, I like that name better, in the forest, that scene is still there, but it is written completely differently. And in the old version, she was just kind of left out in the woods. In the new version, she was tricked out into the woods. Fight was one of the places that I really noticed that the writing was so much better. It was much clearer to follow. Things made more sense. The wrist still gets broken, but it's broken in a way that makes more sense. And the deer had no point. She was still there. The deer was still there in the forest, but she was not used as part of this fight. But taking possession of the deer didn't even happen. Wasn't even part of the plot points for the new version. At the point in time that they go back to London in order to try to capture the rest of her group, that fight scene at the end is completely rewritten. The travel up there is rewritten, drawn out a little bit more to give more details along the way. And instead of Paige being shot for running away at the end, something else happens for that injury, that serious, like, life-threatening injury. That still happens to Paige, but it happens in a different kind of way. And in addition to the tracker device being in her arm, it also has a electric fence kind of limit around the area, which makes it so much harder for her to actually make plans to run away. And I thought it was, for a people with such advanced technology, it made perfect sense that that electric fence was something that they could have built into the system. So it was a little less just trying to run away from Paige in that scene. Briefly after this point, Warren in the old version actually told her what the poppies were and what their use was. She finds that out completely on accident in the new version. That was one of the changes that I would have kind of preferred to know about earlier in the book. Just personal preference. During the fire that is in the poor section of town, in the old version, the Red Jacket is very much targeting burning the tarot deck in order to break Liz's spirit. And in the newer version, it's more of an accident, and she feels just a little bit bad. Just the tiniest bit bad for doing that. One of the things that's really just down to the writing and the pacing is that the enemies to friends that Paige and Warden go down is much, much more believable. It's much more smooth. It stutters less along the way, where it's like, I can trust him, no I can't, I can trust him, no I can't. That kind of inconsistency in personality got smoothed out quite a bit in the rewrite. And it took a little bit longer to happen, which also helped make it more believable. There is a flashback to meeting Zeke and his sister Nadine, and in the new version, she does not sing the song that Zeke asks her to. It's a bit more personal to her, that kind of music, and so she holds back, whereas in the 2013 edition, she does actually sing that song. In this new version, the conversation between Warden and Paige about the golden cord and the housebreak scene are swapped, and it made much more sense with the flow of the story. And it's the point where I realized that if you want to study how to like rewrite a book, this is an excellent way to do it, because you have this old version of the book and then you have an actual true serious rewrite of it that shows how much things can be improved and what can change in a story and its flow by moving some scenes around each other. In the old version, there was just kind of a random scene where Michael is a computer whiz and he pulls up the chase of Paige from back at the beginning of the book so that she can see herself almost succeed in running away from them at the beginning. It had no real point, except that because they had electricity, they also had communications, and Warden gave the chance to Paige in order to contact her crew at the Seven Dials to kind of work with them for the potential of the escape that happens at the end of the book. That scene completely removed from the rewrite. I agree, it wasn't really necessary. I thought it was much more impactful to have Jax and the crew show up unexpectedly, even if in the older version it was still unexpected, but I just thought it was done better. Another small change near the end is in order to fix Liz after her cards had been broken. In the old version, Warden went to Liz, who was still in the slums of the city. It didn't all burn down in the first edition, and they didn't get moved into like the library and be put in a different place. In the new version, when that rookery burns down because of the fire with the tarot cards, they get moved to the old library as just kind of a new place to be, and it's discussed in the new one that the rookery won't be rebuilt and they won't continue to have use of the old library, so it gives the background characters just that little bit extra oomph to join in the rebellion and escape at the very end. One of the other things that I really liked with this rewrite is that after all of this, when they're actually planning their fight in order to get out and their escape, you get more of the details before it happens. You can actively see them planning things, and instead of like spoiling some of the events at the end, it just makes it more believable and it shows how much time has passed better so that they plan for this escape. It wasn't so much until the end of the book that I noticed it this much, is how much Paige used her Irishness in the rewrite versus the old one. The old one, she still kind of tries to hide that she was Irish for the entire thing, and I noticed this particularly during the confrontation scene at the end with Belle, the leader of Ireland. In the new version, she puts on the accent thicker and is very proud to go up to him and say, "Fuck you for what you have done." And in the old version, she keeps it toned down and tries not to let him know exactly what was going on. And I really liked that Paige reconnected with her roots after having her brief stint where she was trying to hide that she had come out of Ireland. I liked that for her character in the rewrite of the series. Just the fact that the scene was rewritten, the makeout scene with Warden at the end and getting caught by Minashira, and the fight scene part at the end, none of them had really new events that happened in them, but the order of events was changed a little bit, and just the rewriting made the action scene much more memorable and clearer and more planned out. There was definitely a difference in the vibe from the old version to the new on the writing style. And one of the last things that I really took note of is that in the new version, we know before the final battle that there's more than two Scarred around. So kind of when it comes down to it, the question is the new version really so much better that it's worth spending your money on? My opinion, yes. I think it's worth that rebuy. Am I still going to read the old ones before the new ones come out? Yes. I'm very curious to see if, especially the blood one, especially that blood change, if that comes back into play in any of the later books, or if it's something that Samantha Shannon just ditched entirely. I wouldn't be surprised if it's ditched entirely, but it's one of the ones that I kind of want to see how much that in particular got changed throughout the books. I liked it better. I truly think that this is not just a money grab or anything like that for the same book being published a second time. I think that this rewrite is worth it and actually puts something back into the books and improves them more than just the cover, which is so much prettier, in my opinion. Nothing wrong with the older covers, but these new ones are gorgeous. Now I have to decide if I want to buy physical copies of the new ones when they come out. I will definitely be reading them though. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to give me a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel if you have not done so already. I will be posting 2 videos next week. There will be the discussion video with my husband about the first Malice Darkblade book, The Daemon's Curse by Dan Abnett, and a wrap-up video. You have 1 more week to read this if you want to read it before our very spoilery discussion. We do a brief section at the beginning that is non-spoilery, but we will discuss this, and I get to pick the book that my husband and I are reading for next month. So that will come out at the beginning of the week, and a wrap-up will come at the end of the week. Have a wicked day.